Okay.
All right, so this morning we have Tim McGinty with us. And so, Tim, if you could, can you please tell us what your career path has looked like thus far?
Well, while I was at LSU, I worked part-time at a local sporting goods store, Red Stick Sports on Essen.
Hmm.
And that kind of gave me a view of an industry that I wanted to get more involved in. And uh, upon graduating, I went full-time calling on area schools and organizations. But I also continued to look around and saw that I wanted to get on the wholesale side of the business, calling on stores more.
Hmm.
And, that eventually got me in with what's called a manufactured sales group out of Dallas, Texas. And I got in with them, moved to Dallas. And that was a great experience because you represented groups of companies that basically couldn't afford their own sales force, because that's a great cost. And you could represent a number of lines and see how different companies operated. And I mean, we rep Spalding and Fila, and we picked up a small company out of Baltimore that was doing about $1 million across the country called Under Armour.
Hmm.
And so it was really neat to be at Under Armour at the very beginning. Um, in that time, I was approached by Nike to go to work for them. And I took that opportunity and worked for Nike for 6 or 7 years. All these stops that I made, I'm kind of shooting through them. These are all I'm old. These are all 6 or 7 year intervals. So I'm not hopping every 18 months here. I've established myself and had a track record.
Hmm.
So I was with Nike for 6 or 7 years, had a family, had everything going on. And working for Nike was as cool as you would think it would be.
Hmm.
But they had me on a plane every Monday flying somewhere across the country. And I was going to miss my kids growing up. So I bought into one of my distributors in Waco, Texas.
Hmm.
And I owned that distributor with another guy for, I don't know, 10 years, 9, 10 years until we sold out about 2 or 3 years ago. Well, part of that purchase agreement was I couldn't do, I worked for them for a couple of years, a company that purchased us, and I couldn't continue in my industry in the state of Texas. I had a non-compete. So that got me back to Louisiana. And I'm working, oddly enough, with the manufactured sales group based in Dallas that I worked with the whole 90s. I guess they weren't that bitter that I left them a long time ago, really.
Right.
I'm now back in Louisiana repping for them. So that's my journey. That's 30 something years in a nutshell.
That's awesome. How would you say your HSS degree has prepared you for the workforce? Were there certain skills or qualities that you learned in those classes or even through your involvement on campus? I know you were actively involved in your jobs, and so that really launched you into the sports industry, but do you feel like there's anything from the degree itself that really prepared you?
I think two things really, when I look back at it. One thing that I was personally took. And then another thing is my daughter's getting a humanities graduate degree from the University of Arkansas, and she's enlightened me, you know, uh, more present day. But I look back and I mean, back then, it was called Speech 1001. And
Uh-huh.
I took that class, and I think that really helped me. And one of the things that I would confer on to students today is the ability to communicate and the ability to be comfortable in their own skin and talk. And the last thing you may want to be is a salesperson. I don't know. As a freshman in college, that's what I thought I was going to do, and I ended up doing it my whole life. But when you get out of school and you're looking for a job, guess what? You're a salesperson. You're selling yourself.
Mhm.
So speech really helped me. And then what opened my eyes is my daughter is a very good writer, and she started a cottage industry as a freshman at Arkansas, helping business majors write
Mhm.
papers because as she puts it, business majors don't know how to write papers. So she was an English history double major, and she ended up working for the library at University of Arkansas, helping students. She did it for 3 years, helping students on term papers, and got paid to do it. And now she's completing her graduate degree, and even in this climate, she's got a couple companies that are talking to her about being a technical writer and doing things on websites in Northwest Arkansas for somebody like Walmart or Tyson Food. Mm-hmm. So the writing part and the ability to write was a real eye-opener to me, that is a scarce ability, because we just know how to text now. We don't know how to write. And that is a commodity that you can market yourself with.
Absolutely. So as you're looking at potentially bringing on interns to your team or even full-time staff members, are there certain skills or qualities or experiences that you look for in particular? Is there something that's going to grab your attention from that resume or cover letter? What are your thoughts about all of that?
You know, when vast majority of my time has been spent with very small businesses. The Nike portion was 7 years. And one of the things I did a lot is interview people at Nike, but they had an HR department that kind of ferreted it out. And we just saw the 5. Every job that's open at Nike has 500 applicants. And, you just see the final 5. So
right.
I can't sit and say as an expert, this is what got you, I got it because I had a track record. And I didn't know someone within Nike, but I knew a big account of Nike, and they were saying, hey, you may want to talk to this guy. So, that's how I got in. And the funny story was when I was hired at Nike, like the day before I went to orientation, my hiring manager called me and told me that I had never applied for the job, that I'd been hired. Because they're like the government. You go online, they didn't have an application on file for me. So it was really a different scenario. But going back, Speech 1001, being comfortable in your own skin and interviewing skills, to me, are what stand out in an applicant or an intern. And what may separate you, and I'm hearing this from, again, my daughter, who's going through the interviewing process, and she is an intern right now with Tyson Food. And it was the interview that got her hired, that and a nice resume. But the ability, what may separate you, is to ask great questions, is walk in there and ask. My daughter was just interviewing with a firm, and she said, my wrap-up question is, I asked the company, tell me about a great win that you've had within your company or department. Yeah. And that was kind of a wow. As someone who interviewed for Nike, no one asked us if we won anything, and I just thought that's a great separating, a point of differentiation that she made, asking that, to ask questions without being obnoxious about it.
Right.
It is probably a nice thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it allows the company to celebrate those successes, and you get to hear from the interviewer, what gets them excited about their work.
Everyone loves to pat themselves on the back.
Yes.
Human emotion.
Right. So what has been your favorite thing about being in sales and working in the sports industry? Do you have a certain aspect that you really love, or what gets you excited day to day?
That it's a couple things about the sports industry is that you are a part of something that a lot of people talk about anyway. They go to work on Mondays and talk about sports. Well, you're in it. What I used to joke about with Nike is say, oh, that's just so cool, you work at Nike. And I'd go, well, the shoes come 6 to a box. And if I don't sell enough boxes, I've got some serious problems. So, it's a tail end, a dual role. But I think what I like most is all through my sales career, it's, I'm not a car salesman. I don't have an event sale. Like, I'm not a one-time thing that I sell this, I move on. My customers are my friends. The service aspect, 75%. Yes, sometimes I've got to go, hey, I really need you to buy this. This is why you should buy it, overcome objections, things like that. But the fact of the matter is, if I sell them something on Monday and it doesn't work on Tuesday, I better make good on it by Wednesday, or that relationship is moved into a different area that I don't enjoy. So I think the big thing is in mine is my customers are my friends. I've stayed at their houses. I've met their kids. I've ate with them, drank with them, did everything. So it's a long-term relationship that I have with my customers that I enjoy most.
Absolutely. So as we are dealing with these unprecedented times of COVID-19, how has your team adapted to this? What does that look like now that we have shifted to working more remotely and from home? What have you done to sort of compensate the changes that we're currently undergoing?
Well, for the first time in my life, I grew a beard. I've never had a beard in my life, and I'm not sure I have one now. But I just kind of, and this is the first day I've worn a shirt with a collar. One of the things, a company that I'm repping now said, hey, you can still sell tops. You know, people aren't wearing bottoms. They're just wearing shorts every day, but still sell tops. So I'm like everybody else. I'm at home, and let's face it, I'm a commission salesman. And 90% of my customers are closed. So you can imagine that the revenue stream to me is not going to be, there's like a 2-month lag time. We're still getting paid commissions from January. So, you know, life's great, but we know it's not going to last because the spigot really turned off about 3 weeks ago. So I'm just keeping in touch with customers, and you know, the odd thing pops up that I can help out on, but it's a new world. And, you know, I've got a junior at LSU, and and he's looking at the world and wondering what's next. And I've got like I said, a daughter in grad school, all in the same boat. So I'm keeping in touch with my customers.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything from your personal or your professional career that you feel like has prepared you for this situation? Obviously, we haven't dealt with anything like this, but do you feel like this adaptability or kind of the shift in mindset, have you experienced that in the past that you feel like has prepared you well for this?
Yeah, you know, I've had a career as a business owner. You know, I've worked the retail front, I've worked the wholesale front. So one of the things that I've learned is change is a constant. And we used to joke at Nike that if you like something, don't fall in love with it. It's going to change. And if you hate something, don't get too down in the dumps. That'll change too. So what I think students need to know that, you know, obstacles pop up, change. This isn't going to last forever. I'm not panicked. I'm in so much better position than most in the country. And, you know, I've reached out and helped where I could. But change and obstacles are going to come at you. And what you're going to find in your adulthood is they normally have dollar signs attached to them, you know, costs. So make good decisions.
Definitely. All right, well, now we're going to transition to our last question. And so as we are engaging with our first year students, what would be your biggest advice to them as they're starting to explore different careers? They may have an idea of what they want to do. They may have no idea what they want to do. So what would be your best advice for them, you know, as they are just beginning their LSU career?
2 or 3 things is keep their antenna up, find out what they're interested in, and pursue that. And when I say pursue that, I've talked to a guy who wanted to do something, really wanted to do it, and he had a job, but he pursued that, and he started out by doing it for free. And that gave the company or who he was involved with a picture of, hey, this guy can really do that. And if you do it for free in the beginning and you prove that you're proficient in it, you'll end up getting paid for it. because the commodity that you have, which is your talent and your efforts, is worth something. And then the other thing is that just like in school, you know, my bosses all live, everyone in my company lives in Texas. I'm the Louisiana and Mississippi rep. So nobody knows where I am, to be honest. You know, a couple times a week I call them or they call me, and we just kind of bounce things off of each other. So I've got to be a self-starter and just like your students need to get up in the morning and go to class, which of course I always did, maybe. I think I've got to get up every morning and I've got to have a plan, and I better have planned ahead, a week ahead, and had things set up, you know, so I can be productive. Because, you know, sales is like your grade point average. Your record is what it says it is. And you can have this excuse, or this professor hated me, or this guy didn't like me, or this class was dumb, you know, but your grade point average is what it says it is. And, you know, my sales record is what it says it is every day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, Mr. Tim, thank you so much for your advice and just all of your great insight and just recommendations. We are truly so grateful for you just sharing your story with us and hearing about your amazing career. So thank you again.
Oh, you're very welcome, and good luck to everyone.